Thomas Hopkins and Michael Quinn, welcome to West End Best Friend. How are you doing, guys?
Good, thank you for having us.
So, guys, I'll go to you individually. So I'll start with you, Thomas. Thomas Hopkins, for everyone who doesn't know who Thomas Hopkins is, who is Thomas Hopkins? What's your story?
What's my story? Oh my God. Well, very much like all three people in this room, and in the very beginning of my theatrical career, I dreamt of being a musical theatre performer until I realised I wasn't very good at it. So, went to college at Erdang, probably was the worst dancer to ever graduate from Erdang. And then started producing when I was I started producing when I was in my second year of Erdang, actually. And when I came out, was producing theatre from about 20, 21 years old. So carried on doing that all the way through my 20s, really. Kind of had a new kind of found love for creating stuff and bringing people together and making a product rather than being someone that went into the room. I was always very terrible, and Michael probably agree even still now, very terrible being told what to do. So I'd have many a row with a director or a writer when I was in something. So it wasn't really great for me. I wasn't the greatest actor in that sense either. So then I just started producing here and in America. Well, Michael and I actually have known each other for quite a long time. Since, well, maybe, I don't know, how long? About 10 years, 15 years or something?
No, longer than that. I think since Wicked opened.
Quite a while ago. And so we've always continued our friendship. But then, last year we just said, let's look at doing something together, and created the company to not look at theatre, but we'll kind of get into that later. But yeah, and that's where it kind of got us to here and now, really.
Michael Quinn, the same question to you. For everyone who doesn't know who Michael Quinn is, who is Michael Quinn?
First and foremost, I've been kind of treading the boards as an actor since I graduated a million years ago. And went into musical theatre, and I was really fortunate to do shows in the West End, on tour, and on cruise ships, and kind of touched on every aspect of the business as an artist. Then I finished up playing my dream role of Greaseball in Starlight Express I left the show about 4 or 5 years ago? Maybe even longer than that. Yeah, no, about 4 or 5 years ago. And then I started creating and producing content for cruise ships and corporate and holiday parks, and then a lot of work out in the UAE. Not musicals, more sort of like review shows, container stuff for cruises, and a lot of big corporate stuff, and really sort of like working in the events world as well, which I love. I love it so much, and I really, really hope it comes back at some point. And then my dear friend Thomas Hopkins reaches out to me and presents me the idea of Godspell. That's kind of where Ginger Quiff Media kicked off.
Because we weren't going to do musicals, were we? That was the point.
I was going to say, that was a lie. Yeah. We were originally creating content for TV, which we are still doing.
And then I just said, should we do Godspell? And we just thought, why not?
But creating Godspell turned into this incredible first production with this incredible cast. And not only that, the icing on the cake for me was that we had Stephen Schwartz involved. The first meeting online, me being an absolute musical theatre freak at first, in my fandom going, hey, Stephen Schwartz, and then I'm putting my producer hat on and going, letting Tom guide me, which he has done. He's been amazing and, helped me a lot in this sort of world of theatre. So here we are.
I was going to say, Michael, you did do a lot. When you say were lucky, you were in a lot of shows. And also, very famously, Duncan, this is major now, he actually came third in the prolific ITV Grease is the Word TV show. I
remember. I watched religiously.
There you go. That's that's major stuff right there.
Do you know what, Duncan, actually, I think, I don't care what anyone says about reality TV, it taught me so much, like having that and also doing the ships and doing West End shows and tours. So I feel now, being on this side of the table now, going, well, I know how artists want to be treated and I know how I wanted to be treated. So I kind of feel like I've touched on all that, and it's been great now to collaborate with Tom, and, he kind of guides me in a different way now, which is great.
Amazing. And what's it been like launching this company in 2020, when obviously everything has to be done online, you have to think outside the box, you have to find new ways of presenting theatre, which is essentially like a live experience, and that's why people do that. How important to you was being able to do that well, and how did you find going into this new medium kind of a bit like, what's going to happen? We don't know, but let's give it a crack.
Do you know what? It's so funny because I was saying to Michael the other day, we had a meeting and I sounded like quite clever, like with all these terms that we know now. But I remember the very first meeting we had with Broadway HD, who now obviously we partner with a lot and are fantastic, and I've learnt a lot with them. And then they said, so when you do the deal, so we do a deal on the SVOD and TVOD, and I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But now we've kind of started to understand the terminology. And because our company has only ever done stuff like this, it's become really our normality of the way now we're building a business model. Like we were just talking yesterday about a new play that we're doing, and it's the same agent as another play that we did, and I was saying, you know, God, to think the budget we had for that play only 6 months ago, and now we're able to now look at real, you know, a real budget, which is really interesting because we've been able to create a model. Because at the beginning, no one knew what would work and what wouldn't work. No one knew if anyone would actually buy a ticket to anything. No one knew what price point to put something at. So we've learned very quickly along the way. And luckily now we're able to go, oh yeah, because that works like that or that like that. But at the same time, we're learning even more in terms of how to gain a reach, an audience reach. Because we've gone from the very beginning, Godspell and Rose. I mean, Rose, there was nothing else when we did Rose out there. And now there's loads of stuff. So now you have to go, okay, we need to change you know, we still have to have that star, but you also have to have the reach. And how do we get the reach? And it's working out how to gain those connections with people at home. It's not to do with people in the industry. We need people at home, like, you know, my mum and dad, anyone else that wouldn't have a clue, to want to go that extra mile,
totally,
to buy a ticket and then put it on their telly, work out how to do it. How do you make people want to do that? And that's the challenge that we face, and like trying to work and maneuver ourselves around those. But I think it's exciting because it's not the normal. What's also was exciting for us, I won't name the producer, but we were asked, if a really prolific producer asked if they could ring us to ask how to do it. And I found that quite humbling, like, oh my God, this is crazy. This producer's like major. And I said, how do you do it? And it was quite nice. You know what I mean? In a very
that must be reassuring, especially when you're navigating. You started, as you said, like to navigate a completely new medium that you didn't know everything from the start, to then be like, oh, well, we must be doing a good job then, because now we're the people to go to.
So I think it's exciting that as young producers, I remember back last summer when I'd gone to watch, when Jack Maple and Jamie and all that were doing the thing at the Coliseum, and I went to watch, they were filming it. And I said to Jamie Dixon, I said, you know, I think this is an opportunity that this industry is now a blank sheet of paper, and we can decide to write on it whatever we want. So I think that's the great part about it. And of course, we want everything to open again, but I really just hope that when it does open again, and all the big boys and big girls come back to their chairs, that there's an element of there's room enough for everybody.
Yeah, totally. Did you have any idea when you started out, like at the beginning, that you'd be as successful as you have been? Because I mean, right, Rose got an encore performance and everything, didn't it? So like, did you have any idea that you'd be able to have something so successful enough to be able to put it out again and start basically snowballing to where you are now?
No, I don't think we did, but I think what's important, we know we weren't the only people to start doing this as well, but what has been important to myself and Tom is that we've really made sure the quality of everything we've done is to the highest of standards, and I think that shows in the work that we've done, especially in something like Rose. And we were so lucky to have not only the Hope Mill Theatre, but Martin Sherman's amazing writing, and Maureen, who is just incredible. And we had Scott Lacrasse direct it. We had a killer CJ, who was our editor and that, and filming. That they just all did a brilliant job, didn't they, Tom? So I think I think the one thing we are really good at is bringing a really great team together. We don't claim to do everything ourselves, so we know if we can bring a really nice team together and we can keep that standard really high, hopefully long may it continue, right?
Exactly, and you're right. Like again, Michael and I on the 27th of January, when we had Rose on Sky, were like, this is ridiculous. Like, how have you got a show on Sky? This is crazy. Then to have two shows bought by Broadway HD that are on there now for 5 years, and then that leads to those shows potentially now being on PBS, and now we're working on a musical with Broadway HD, which Touchwood is going to start filming at the beginning of April, which is a full musical. So it's like, yeah, it's exciting. And I don't know, in no way did we think when we were doing Godspell that we would be in a position where we were able to raise proper finance to produce shows for real in this way on this platform. It's kind of crazy.
Where would you ideally like this to go? Do you see, when the industry opens up, do you see Ginger Quiff just being kind of living in your online media realm, or do you want to go into fully producing musicals or stage shows or events? Like, if the world was your oyster, where would you want to go?
Well, actually, we are, for example, with Rose, we are working with 4 very established producers now to bring that to stage in September, October. So the idea with Rose is it will have a 4-date tour before it comes into the West End. That's exciting. And I mean, with all of that, we're doing another play again that we can't talk about right now. It's going to be announced on the 17th of February. But with that play in particular, again, we would look for a future with it, a live future. And you know, the thing is about creating this, like with Rose, you know, a play that was at the National, you know, 15 years ago. I want to say 15, maybe it was 12. It's given it a new life because the text is so viable and the text makes so much sense now that it's, what's exciting is that we can take shows and give them a new life. And with the musical that we're working on as well, that in itself, the writers are very excited about that because it's quite a well-known title that is made and created for Broadway HD, so it won't be streamed, it will just go straight onto their platform. That's very exciting because that, and again, we would look potentially to have that live as well. So yeah, and again, as Michael had mentioned, we also look to go into both of our old worlds in terms of events, and Michael can talk about that because that's his speciality.
In a dream world, if we could go and do whatever we wanted to do after this, the whole reason that Ginger Quiff Media was started up was to create content for TV. Not that we're allowed to discuss too much stuff, but we're kind of like dabbling in the ideas of the TV world. And as much as we both love theatre, you know, and we know in a realistic world, when it does open up, you know, like Tom said before, all the big boys are going to come out to play again. So we'd still love to be part of that and be part of that community and give as many people as we can jobs. But we're looking at, you know, other avenues, just trying to be unique and always just trying to go, right, how do we now create something new, something that people haven't seen before?
I think what you're doing is brilliant, and it's what's needed in this time, and it's what's been nice is it's been able to make people realise that although it's not necessarily the same, live theatre can still live on and people can be affected and feel like they are having a night out at the theatre, even though they might not be. And I think that's kudos to you and the production values and effort that you and all your team, because as you say, it does take a village.
I think the other nice thing for us is as well is, you know, like Tom said, it's kind of like wiping the slate clean, and we're co-producing lots of different stuff with loads of the producers, which is amazing. I think there's 6 or 7 of us on the next project, Tom. So, and in a real world, maybe they wouldn't all get together, you know. But it's so nice now that we can take all these different people and go, well, you're great at doing this, and you're great at doing this. So bring that team together. I think one thing as well for Ginger Quiff is that I think what hopefully shows is that we are, you know, real sort of diverse in our offering and our casting. We don't just go all the obvious choices all the time. And that's really important to me and Tom. It's
been very nice to see so many, such a representative set of actors and artists throughout the catalogue of stuff that you've presented. Some awesome people that we all know, but also people that need to be rewarded in the spotlight as well.
I think when you look at Little Wars, for example, and you look at Little Wars as a project and people, okay, Juliet Stevenson, Sophie Thompson, Linda Bassett, but really the person with the biggest part, Natasha, is a complete, you know, she's not an unknown, but she's not a name. She's just a fantastic actress. So it was really great with Little Wars to be able to have a lineup of, you know, all these known names and put Natasha in it, and actually she's the linchpin in the entire show. So for her, at her part of her career, to have, you know, last week when we had, you know, the front page last Friday of the New York Times art section was about Little Wars was amazing, and the fact that when they talk about the show, they talk about Natasha a lot, and I think that's incredible that we can, you know, put those people in the position where we can push people forward. Yeah. And with Godspell, when we could use the ensemble from Conti's of all the kids that, you know, were just about to graduate, and give them an opportunity, and now an international opportunity to be seen all the time. And also, just so you know, Duncan, like when Tom's quite relaxed about it, but like New York Times, we get mega excited over stuff like that. Anybody watch it going, they seem so relaxed about this. Even for me, I think, you know, it's such a wonderful achievement, and we're both going, this is weird. You know, we're doing this together, which is great. Especially because, like you said at the start, you just set out to create work and see if it would work. It's not like you ever thought that in such a short amount of time you'd achieve as much as you have, which is, you know, always to be commended. I mean, also for us at the beginning, to be able to, like with Godspell, Godspell for charity raised about 15 grand. So we gave 5 grand to the Hope Mill, 5 grand to the National AIDS Trust, and 5 grand to Acting for Others. Little Wars raised just over £7,000 for refugee women, and it carries on to raise money for them. And we have we're just starting to talk about another life for Little Wars, potentially live as well, which is very early stages, but that will also support that. So we're able to use a model that allows us to raise money for people that need it, but also pay the actors now that are involved in the project. So it's making that balance, because people shouldn't be doing stuff for free, but at the same time, we're trying to do that, you know? Absolutely. That's what's kind of exciting about it, is trying to support as many angles as we can, as well as being able to pay our own rent. That's always quite handy. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming along and having a chat today. Thank you for having us. Appreciate it. Not a problem. You're always welcome here at West End Best Friend. I can't wait to get my jumper and my t-shirt and my hat. I've been campaigning for a cap for ages, so the more people that say it, then... I'll tell you what, if you don't get one, we'll send you a Ginger Quiff Media one. Oh! Our match is lovely. Thank you. Gauntlet be set down there, James. Thanks, guys. Have an awesome day. Take care, and we'll see you soon. Cheers, Duncan.